Friends, these days, many PhD students and young researchers use purposive sampling for their research. And there are lots of misconceptions or misunderstandings about usage and limitations of purposive sampling. So I thought that let me make a small presentation. I have made 4 slides on purposive sampling to remove those misconceptions. Now, these 4 slides deal with what is purposive sampling, when is purposive sampling used, what are the limitations of purposive sampling, and a common misunderstanding about what kind of statistical techniques can be used when the data are obtained by using purposive sampling. So I will share those slides with you. Friends, sampling means selection of some units from a larger population. Now, this also involves that the findings of our sample should be representative of the whole population. We are not interested in the sample. Researchers are not interested in the sample only. They are interested in the population. But for a number of reasons, when they cannot study all the units in the population, maybe sampling is restrictive or there are limitations of resources, so we depend on sampling. So now there are 2 types of sampling procedures, non-probability and probability. Probability sampling can also be called scientific sampling, and non-probability sampling can be called non-scientific sampling. Now, what is science or non-science in this? Science means making methodologies of research independent of researchers' subjectivity. And non-scientific or purposive or non-probability sampling are those types of sampling procedures in which judgment regarding which units of the population should be selected for study is taken by the researcher. I am not saying whether purposive sampling is better or scientific sampling is better. In statistics, attempts have been made to compare results of the 2 types of sampling procedures, and sometimes purposive sampling produces better results, sometimes scientific sampling produces better results. So we are not dealing with results as such, but I am just saying that probability or scientific sampling makes research procedures independent of the researcher, and non-probability or non-scientific sampling assigns an important role to researchers' judgment. For example, any sampling in which selection of units from a larger population called sampling frame is made is a simple random sample in which we assign equal probability of selection to all the units. Now, other forms of non-probability sampling are self-selection sampling or sample of volunteers. The sample of volunteers is particularly popular among biostatisticians or medical statisticians, where some new drug has to be tested and its efficacy is not known compared to old drugs, or it may be just a new drug for suggested for the treatment of a disease, and it is unethical to test this drug on patients. Patients may be patients of cancer, maybe blood pressure, maybe infectious diseases. So it is unethical to test a drug on them. It may even harm them, we do not know, without taking the consent of the patients. So we need a sample. Ethical judgment requires selection of sample of volunteers, and we tell the volunteers that this is a new drug and we are conducting a research. And if you permit, these are the benefits, these are the possible losses. If you permit, we will conduct research on you. And like you, some other people have also volunteered for research. Or convenient sampling, when studying those units of population which are easily available, convenient to study. Informants. And remember that informants are not respondents. In social sciences, we use the term respondent for those people who respond to our questions or who fill up our questionnaire, or whom we interview by using structured or semi-structured interview schedule. But informants are those people who have a good knowledge of the population that you want to study. Like people belonging to police department may have good knowledge of the crime situation in the district. Those people can become your key respondents in certain kinds of study. In certain kinds of study, your key respondents may be journalists, maybe members belonging to different NGOs, civil society groups, or teachers, professors, formal, informal leaders, any group of people who is knowledgeable about the situation that you want to study. So that is called informant sample. And quota sampling. Quota sample is a better form of non-scientific sampling. In quota sample, we know the distribution of population according to a number of significant characteristics, and therefore we are able to identify cells representing different categories or different characteristics of the population, and we select purposive sampling from each cell according to its true representation or true ratio in the overall population. Or there is a sampling of deviant cases, or there is theoretical sampling. There are also forms of non-probability sampling. Theoretical sampling is applied by those who use grounded theory approach, and theoretical sampling means that we decide to interview certain kinds of respondents or informants and depending on our stage of understanding of the field situation. So whom to interview, what to ask, it depends on our field experience. And as field experience grows, maybe the range of our respondents also grows. That is theoretical. Or sampling of deviant cases. If there is a theory, if there is good understanding of the population, you know that there are some extreme cases on either side, deviant cases which differ from the normal cases, and you will like to study them. That is studying deviant cases. This purposive sampling is particularly good for small scale exploratory and pilot studies and is not good for generalization. So if you are conducting a small scale study, if you have limited resources, or if you want some tentative estimates of the parameters of the population, or you are conducting a qualitative or exploratory study or a pilot study before the main or final study is conducted, you can use purposive sampling. Now, when to use purposive sampling? Obviously, when it is not possible to draw probability or random sampling, there may be different situations. One situation may be that the sampling frame is not known, or maybe you want to avoid extremes. Simple random does not mean that extremes will not get selected. So, or you want quick results. Even systematic or restricted random sampling is not possible. Systematic sampling means that you want a certain percentage of units to be selected. You do not require the complete sampling frame. So you want 10% units. So what you will do, from the first 10, one unit is selected randomly. It may be first, second, third, fourth, or 10th. And if it is a kth, then all keep on adding 10 to k. k plus 10th unit, k plus 20th unit, k plus 30th unit, and in this way you can select those units till the whole population is exhausted. Here you do not require a prior knowledge of sampling frame. But there are situations in which even systematic random sampling is not possible. Or you want quick results, as in monitoring and evaluation studies of development programs and schemes. Like we use purposive sampling in monitoring and evaluation studies conducted for Ministry of Rural Development in various schemes. So you select some villages and take a purposive sampling of certain units who are the beneficiaries or who are not the beneficiaries of the program. When population is small, so purposive sampling is particularly good when population is small and you know the nature of variations in the population. This small population may be population of an urban ward. It may be the population of patients in a hospital. It may be some limited agricultural plots, or and the main thing is that it is possible for you to identify average units. You know that which are extremes and which are average units. If you can, let me repeat this because this is a very significant point for purposive sampling, that if you can identify representative or average units, I have written average units in bold, if you can identify average units in a small population, then purposive sampling serves your purpose, because these average units, you already know they are average and you just want their details. So they will be representative. Those details that you will get from the purposive sampling will be representative of the whole population. When hypothesis testing is not the aim of the study, means the study is not scientific or diagnostic, it's simply exploratory or in-depth. Another situation, when distribution of population characteristics as required for quota sampling is also not known. Okay, because quota sampling will require division of population into a number of cells on the basis of a number of variables or characteristics of population, and then estimating in which cell what percentage or what ratio of population exists. In using non-probabilistic sampling, identify sample units from different units, from different cells in the same proportion is called quota sampling. Quota sampling is better than purposive sampling, but it may not be possible to select a quota sampling always if the distribution of the population according to multiple characteristics that might influence your results is not known. Or purposive sampling can be used when there is a limitation of time or financial resources and human resources. So sometimes you can rely only on purposive sampling. And I know that one reason, one genuine reason why PhD students go for purposive sampling, because in PhD they have limitation of time, they do not have extra funds other than their research fellowship or scholarship, and they must finish their PhD in 3-4 years time. So it's okay for them to use purposive sampling, but they must know the limits and possibilities of this kind of sampling. What are the limits? What are the limitations of purposive sampling? First of all, it is unscientific and subjective. Some people may say it's okay. What if it is unscientific? And it is unscientific only in the sense that you, researcher, are selecting the units of the population according to your judgment of which are the average units, which are representative units. And in that sense, it is subjective. As I told you, in very good statistics journals, papers have been published comparing findings of purposive and non-purposive sampling procedures, and sometimes it is found that purposive sampling is better, sometimes non-purposive on probability sampling is better, scientific sampling is better. So, but the fact remains that this will come under the category of unscientific sampling or subjective sampling, which means that generalizations are not possible. This is the biggest limitation of purposive sampling. Generalizations are not possible. And it's not good for statistical inference. Means you cannot establish the theory of error. You cannot estimate probable error. You cannot estimate standard error. And you cannot give a confidence interval for your estimates. That you can do in case you are using random or restricted random sampling, stratified sampling, systematic sampling, cluster sampling, or multi-stage sampling using randomization as the technique. So friends, this is the main problem, that you do not have the theory of error. Like if you are using a simple random or a stratified random sampling and you find estimate of the proportion of people suffering from mental disorders, you may say that in my sample, I find that nearly 10% people suffer from mental disorders. In the whole population, nearly 10% people suffer from mental disorders. And in addition to this is your point estimate. In addition to this, you can also say that I am 99% sure that the true figure of percentage disorder is between 8 and 12. Or I am 95% sure that it is between 9 and 11. Now, this kind of confidence interval cannot be given for purposive sampling because it's not based on the rules of probability, and the theory of estimation cannot be applied. Also remember that whenever we talk of sampling, we also become immediately conscious of two types of errors in the results: sampling errors and non-sampling errors. Now, a statement regarding sampling error obviously cannot be made in case you are using purposive sampling. But it does not mean that purposive sampling does not suffer from non-sampling errors. Non-sampling errors are common to both probability sampling as well as non-probability sampling. So you have to be careful about systematic biases, errors arising due to interview situations, or various kinds of, or editing, or errors in estimation or tabulation or communication or printing, all other kinds of errors, or that respondents are reluctant to answer your questions and they say something just to ward off the investigator. All those non-sampling errors are common to both probability sampling as well as non-probability sampling. Another thing I want to say, I have seen PhD students using the formula initially given in W.G. Cochrane's book on sampling techniques to estimate sample size. When you are not using probability sampling, estimation of sample size does not make any sense, because estimation of sample size depends on a number of things: how much error you can tolerate in your results, or what is the effect size, in what proportion of cases, and what is the understanding or estimate of the standard deviation or the proportion in the overall population. In this case, in case of purposive sampling, it doesn't make sense to talk of determination of sample size. I know it's very common. Even in some of the best institutes, students are writing that they are using purposive sampling or triangulation or a combination of purposive sampling and qualitative and quantitative methods, triangulation of purposive sampling and case studies and key informants, interviews, and so on. And they also estimate sample size, that according to our formula, sample size should be this. Now, I don't think that there is any need or it makes sense to calculate sample size in case your sample is not based on the rules of probability. And certainly, this purposive sampling is not appropriate for hypothesis testing. I am pained to see that many PhD students test hypothesis. They write hypothesis after conceptual diagram and literature review. They also write their hypothesis 1, 2, 3, 4, and by using inferential statistics like T or Z, or by using multiple regression analysis or other techniques, like structural equation model or common variance method, they test various kinds of hypotheses. Now, that is not permitted. That is because the theory of error is not established, because we cannot make an estimate of sampling fluctuations in case you are going for purposive sampling. So it doesn't make sense to test hypotheses. Hypotheses are part of scientific designs or diagnostic studies, not part of exploratory studies for which purposive sampling can be recommended. Okay. Can one apply statistical? This is a question that students often ask. Can one apply statistical models on data obtained through purposive sampling? Yes. One can apply both univariate and multivariate statistical techniques. So you can calculate mean, variance, coefficient of variation, skewness, kurtosis, and so on. You can also calculate correlation coefficient and covariance. You can make correlation matrix. You can use chi-square test, but estimation of standard error of estimates of parameters is not possible. What you cannot do with purposive sampling is, what is the standard error of your estimates? Like in case of mean, you can say that my sample mean is X bar, and if you are using probability sampling, you can also say that then there is a 95% chance that the true value of population mean will lie between X bar plus and minus 1.96 sigma by root n, where sigma is the standard deviation of the population or its estimate, and n is the sample size. You cannot make such estimates. In probability sampling, you can estimate standard error of your regression coefficients. But in purposive sampling, you cannot calculate, you cannot estimate the standard error of estimates of the parameters. But I know that many PhD students are doing this. If any such thesis comes to me, I warn, I tell students that this is not permissible. But I want to tell you through these slides and through this video that you can use statistical techniques, but remember that data from purposive sampling should not be used for hypothesis testing. Remember that it will be convenient and fashionable. Okay, if other students are using, or there are some institutes, some very prestigious institutes in which PhD students are commonly using purposive sampling. But the common use of purposive sampling does not mean that it is justified. It can still be wrong. It may be convenient and fashionable. It may be in fashion. It may be in fashion means the academic community or the community of PhD students or research scholars is commonly using purposive sampling, but it is simply wrong. Wrong is wrong. It's not permissible. Of course, I would say that if you want to use inferential statistics at all, it is better to use non-parametric methods. So you can use, in place of correlation coefficient, you can use Spearman's correlation coefficient. On ranks, you can use ranks, and working on ranks or you can use other types of non-parametric methods. There are non-parametric methods for analysis of variance also. There are non-parametric methods for regression also. You can still use those types, or you can use sign test or rank test. These tests are powerful, robust, and in place of using parametric methods, you can better use non-parametric methods. One can use the results to estimate parameters for conducting the final study. Then you may ask, why purposive sampling? Purposive sampling, when sometimes purposive sampling is good, or it may even be desirable. As I said that sampling of volunteers in case of trial of drugs, new drugs on patients of certain kinds may be desirable. There is no other option. You cannot go for simple random or stratified or other kinds of sample. You can, of course, there in hospital situation, use quota sampling, and you can assign quotas to men, women, or different age groups. But ultimately, you depend on volunteers. So their non-probability sampling is okay. A small data, a small population, and there is some understanding of averages also. One can use the results to, but basically you use purposive sampling to estimate parameters, means like mean or variance, for conducting the final or quantitative study with random sampling or sampling such as stratified and cluster sampling. So like in calculation of sample size for your probability sampling, you need estimates of mean, variance, proportions. For estimating, for tentative or rough estimates of mean, variance, and proportion, you can certainly use purposive sampling. And using those estimates, then you can go for the final study, which has to be quantitative and in which sampling has to be done by using the rules of probability. So friends, there are 2 or 3 things which I wanted to say. One, that there are 2 types of sample procedures, probability and non-probability. Probability may be called a scientific sampling procedure because the judgment regarding selection of units is made by rules of chance. You use random number tables, or if population is large, then by using computers, pseudo-random numbers can be generated, and you can use those pseudo-random numbers for selection of units. Or you can go for stratified sampling or cluster sampling or systematic random sampling. But when purposive sampling is that type of sampling in which selection of units, which units I should identify for conducting interviews, for conducting experiments, for case studies, for whatever kind of data we are collecting, is taken by the researcher. Now, when will purposive sampling be accurate? Obviously, when population is small and you have some understanding of average type or typical or normal type of units, and you are in a position to avoid deviant cases or extremes, then you can use purposive sampling, and maybe purposive sampling gives better results than the random sampling, because random sampling also produces the possibility of getting an extreme sample that cannot be avoided simply by using random probability laws. Friends, So purposive sampling is used essentially in exploratory study. Remember that if you are using purposive sampling, you should not have hypothesis. You should not go for sophisticated statistical analysis. It's possible to do any kind of analysis with numbers, but the limitation of purposive sampling is that the standard errors of the parameters which you obtain by using sophisticated statistical techniques cannot be established. You cannot give a theory of error. You cannot calculate confidence interval. If you do this, if you have hypothesis and you calculate regression coefficients and their standard errors, then you are doing a wrong thing. Purposive sampling does not permit you to test hypothesis as you can do in a scientific design. But by using purposive sampling, you can obtain tentative estimates of population parameters, and then you can calculate sample size for conducting the main or the final quantitative study by using rules of probability. Purposive sampling is also not okay for large scale studies like NFHS, National Family Health Survey, or National Sample Survey organizations, surveys in different rounds on different topics, or human development survey. It can be used only for a small population. When you have some tentative, some I would say good understanding of variations in population units. Otherwise, purposive sampling. So I will repeat it, that purposive sampling is that sampling which gives importance to researcher to identify, this is subjective, identify some units from the population, which has to be small for the study. And you can do anything with purposive sampling, but theory of error, or you cannot make standard errors in purposive sampling, and therefore you cannot test hypothesis. Whatever results you get, you get. You like your purposive, if your purposive sample says that in one category of population the mean value is this, and in another category of population mean value is that, that gives you some idea of variations in the population. But you are not supposed to, you are not permitted to use t-test or analysis of variance F ratio for testing the hypothesis regarding difference in means between the two categories of population. Thank you. If you have any question, doubt, you can always communicate with me and I will try to answer them. Thank you very much once again.